Somebody would say, okay, everybody 10% in gold or whatever, 8% in technology. I don't invest that way. I'm too lazy or too simple or something. I try to find the good opportunities, whatever they are, and try to focus. Diversification is not a way to get rich. Diversification is a way that brokers can protect themselves if you want to sue them. But if you really want to, Henry Ford didn't diversify. He concentrated and focused. So if you want to get rich, figure out the best basket and put all your eggs in that basket. You've got to get the right basket, Jay, or you go bankrupt pretty quickly. But that's the way to succeed as an investor. It's also a way to go bankrupt very quickly if you get it wrong.
So is your basket agriculture right now?
Well, I own lots of things. I mean, I bought Chinese shares 30 years ago, and I still own a lot of them. So I own a lot of things that I've owned for a long time, but new money right now is mainly going into agriculture, yes.
Okay.
And Uzbekistan, but Uzbekistan is tiny. As you pointed out, it's a very small market.
Okay. And I believe you're right now holding a fair amount of US dollars because it's perceived by the world still, anyways, thus far, as the safe haven asset class, whether or not it is that.
I would say my US dollar position is the largest currency position, at least relative, that I've ever had, for the reason you just said.
Okay. Now, isn't that what makes, you could say it's not a safe haven, but people believe it is. And I ask the question, is there a difference if collectively the population believes something is a safe haven asset class? Doesn't that trust create the safety of that asset class, at least as long as the population believes it so?
Well, you said it, as long as, but when everybody goes to the same side of a boat, you better be worried about going to the other side of the boat, because it often will tip over, and eventually it does tip over. When everybody thinks the same thing, somebody's not thinking. History's pretty clear about that, whether it's war or investing or romance or whatever it happens to be. If you follow the crowd, you usually, I mentioned the technology bubble, which had formed, and it continues to, they're all down now, but it will probably revive if and when something causes a big rally. There's a lot of pessimism around in the equity markets now, Jay. And normally when everybody's pessimistic, something happens. Some spark comes along, such as peace in Ukraine, which causes a big rally. I don't know what might change people's pessimism, but I do know that we have staggering amounts of pessimism all over the world in equities. I do not know what will cause that to change, but it nearly always has throughout history and probably will again. So I'm looking for that spark. I mentioned potential peace in Ukraine. That could do it, but it might be something else.
And that spark would be the trigger that would end. I guess my question though, Jim, is what would be the trigger that would end the global confidence in the US dollar that protects it currently as the safe haven asset? What will be
That's already happening, as I said before. Many countries, both friends and enemies of the US, are now looking for something to compete with the US dollar, because Washington, especially in the last 5 or 10 years, has done a lot to cut people off and say, we don't like you, therefore you can not use the US dollar. We put sanctions on you or controls or whatever. So there are many people already looking. And so eventually, people just say, okay, I'm moving my money now. But what's the spark? Who knows? If you look at Japan, for instance, Japan has had unbelievably low interest rates for a long time. And many times I've said, when is that going to end? It has to end. They're printing huge amounts of money, et cetera. Well, it's finally ending. But you and I could have been sitting here 3 years ago and said, it's absurd what they're doing in Japan. It cannot last. But it did last. Now it's ending. Now the Japanese currency is going down a lot, the lowest it's been in a long time, because enough people finally act together that it changes.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.